It's Wellness Wednesdays. It's Wellness Wednesdays. And today we are going to talk about something that some mental health professionals call catastrophizing, other mental health professionals call magnifying. It's basically making things much bigger than they have to be in the narrative of your own mind. Now, I don't use the term overreacting because I think that's part of catastrophizing. Catastrophizing to me is a process of self-gaslighting that is a narrative, an ongoing narrative that you have been taught to believe, that makes you believe that just because things aren't good now means they will never be good. It's a weird cognitive tick that people like consistency, people like predictability, and when there is ambiguity or uncertainty, some people are just trained to go negative, usually by their parents or some sort of family situation. So if you like this sort of content, I know the people who love Wellness Wednesdays really love Wellness Wednesdays, but it's a lot fewer y'all than the YouTube videos that YouTube's algorithm likes. So help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Now, you guys may notice that I take a lot of crap online. And getting dogpiled or getting review bombed or hate bombed or whatever, dislike bombed is an example of something that can cause people to catastrophize. And the reality is, okay, a bunch of people hit the dislike button and leave a bunch of nasty comments. So what? That doesn't do anything to me. What causes the pain for me, what causes the anguish, the anxiety, the depression, the so on and so forth, is if my brain decides to take a negative spin on that event with my help. So, what I normally tell myself is, oh, that's cute. I made somebody think and they didn't like it. Because just because somebody doesn't like something you said does not mean they're wrong. I find it very interesting that a lot of people who are fans of controversial figures online, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they have this splitting phenomenon, splitting something we can talk about another day. But the person they are a fan of is this victim or this poor soul that they must defend, and defending them means saying a bunch of mean, nasty things to people who seem to be on the other side. Why? Why do they feel the need to defend this avatar of their own inner stuff online? Well, because a lot of people feel that if they don't do something, something bad is going to happen. That's what I've heard time and again with all these moral panics, with all these culture war things. If somebody doesn't do something, the sky is going to fall, the bottom's going to drop out, everything's going to get censored, so on and so forth. There's absolutely zero faith in the various systems of checks and balances that, are put into place to stop exactly those sorts of things from happening. Now, do sets of checks and balances fail? Of course they do. But do they fail completely? Arguably less so. They may fail temporarily, which, indicates that more has to be done for enforcement. But rarely do a lot of these systems fail catastrophically. More often than not, people drive themselves crazy, envisioning the worst case scenario in a panicked state, subject themselves to all this anguish and anxiety and stress, and the worst doesn't happen. Now, this is very different than the visualization process of going through and doing strategizing of, all right, So this bad thing happens. What am I going to do about it? Okay, if this bad thing happens, I'm going to react this way, right? Those sorts of mental exercises actually minimize catastrophizing because it makes you feel more in control when the bad stuff hits. So if you are prone to catastrophizing, it's good to do some of that advanced work. There's a fancy Greek term for it, but I won't bother you with that. We'll call it, for the purposes of this video, planning ahead or filling out your loadout. You know how when you go into a video game, especially a boss fight, and there's that ominous weapons loadout, prompter right before you go into a room where there's probably a big scary monster behind it. And you have the opportunity to make sure your weapons and spells and all that stuff, what have you, is the way that's going to give you the best possibility of success. That's the exercise. If, they hit me with the tentacle, I'm going to dodge, and then I'm going to unload in the shiny glowy spot. Capcom Monster Fight 101, right? Life is like that too. Nobody will continue to play a game when they're thinking to themselves, oh my God, there's going to be a huge monster behind that door and I'm never going to be able to beat it and it's all hopeless. You'd stop playing the game, right? Like, if you think it's hopeless, you're not going to try. Or you're going to go in and you're going to throw the fight because you're psyched out, right? So think of life like a video game. You'll notice a lot of my advice is think of life like a video game, or at least with video game metaphors. Instead of in a video game, a boss is beatable, right? Unless there's some weird glitch. Bosses are designed to be beaten eventually. Some are harder than others. That stupid general in Sekiro. But just for me, I really struggled with that boss, but I got him eventually. Bosses are designed to be beaten. So are challenges in life. Now, it's not like a boss where you necessarily know the path, but if you create narratives for yourself, if you design your life like a game, you can create victory conditions out of what Star Trek fans would call a Kobayashi Maru, right? High-level athletes do this early in their career. I was just talking to somebody about, competitive swimmers who end up in these competitions when they're like skinny little 15 and 16-year-olds. They have no hope of winning because they're scrawny little 16-year-olds. The purpose of them being there is for the experience. A lot of Olympic athletes, the Olympics is coming up, don't go there to win a medal because they're realistic. They probably ain't gonna. They set, I want top 10. I want top 20. I want a personal best, They have their own goal. And so if they go there and don't win a medal, that's not a failure because they never set themselves up to need to win a medal to consider it a success. And a lot of people who are perfectionists who lack self-compassion, I've talked about self-compassion before, tend to catastrophize. A lot of us in gaming, a lot of nerds are overachieving, marks oriented, meaning, I want 100%. I want that A+. Our identity is so wrapped up in those measurable achievements in terms of grades, in terms of smart stuff, because we were given the perception that we sucked at everything else, right? We weren't given that opportunity to go for personal bests in anything outside of this very narrow specialization, which is be a walking brain that's good at math and a few other math connected things, right? This is unhealthy. I used academics as a way of insulating my self-esteem from disapproving caregivers. I could never meet the expectations of particular caregivers of mine. They were always disapproving. When they got angry, they were not satisfied until I confessed to being bad. Terrible thing to do. Not only confess to being bad, confess to feeling bad and insisting that they must help me. Straight up abuse, right? But when I went in and got a really good mark on a test, well, that was proof I'm not bad, right? But you get into adulthood when you're not getting numeric grades or letter grades for all the things in life. Everything becomes very subjective. So you don't have the objective tests anymore, but you still have those traumas left over from whatever subjective conditioning you received in early life that made you feel like I am shit. That's the root of the catastrophizing. And the only way to really overcome that is to consciously rewrite the story you tell yourself, redesign that game. So instead of, if this person dumps me, if I lose this friend, I'll never make another friend again, all this stuff, it's, I made this friend. I will make another friend, right? Like, I will be sad. Don't deny your emotions. I will be sad if this friendship doesn't work out. But there are reasons it didn't work out. What did I learn from this? What am I going to take forward, right? You can put yourself in something called a rejection immune state or risk immune state and not feel crushed by these things. If you've done that loadout and planned, instead of panicking about the worst, plan for the worst and get a game plan. And then when you execute that game plan, if she gets in my face, I'm going to stay outwardly calm. I'll feel bad about it later, but I'm not going to take her bait. I'm going to stay outwardly calm and I'm just going to walk away. So when she gets in your face, you don't feel powerless anymore. You do what you plan to do. When you did your battle loadout, you execute the strategy and you walk away. It's empowering. And when you pre-plan that way, you don't have to catastrophize. Now, what if you do? What if a scenario hits you and the rug is knocked out from under you and you didn't have the chance to pre-plan? What then? Well, the first thing to do is stop. You can hit pause. Everything is not fight or flight. We don't live in the wilderness anymore. It's not a tiger coming to eat you. You can take a few seconds to get your bearings. Take a few deep breaths. Taking deep breaths forces your body into a calmer state, for one. What taking a few deep breaths also does is gives your rational consciousness a chance to catch up to the emotional reaction, which, just because of the way human brains work, always happens first. You need to give yourself that adapting to latency. You need to give yourself that latency period. Your brain has lag. You can't be lag free, so play with the lag, right? Once you do that, if you catch yourself catastrophizing, oh my God, I'm terrible, I'll never amount to anything, I suck, they're going to do this, I'm going to lose my job, everything like that. Don't just say, no, you won't. Rewrite the script. I may lose my job, I'll find another one. It, may have been very hard to get that job, but hey, you got that job, you'll find another one. They may not be my friend anymore. All right, friends come, friends go. Trust me. No loss interpersonally is insurmountable. Take it from somebody who's been canceled multiple times, okay? I'm still going. I'm still doing. In many ways, the narrative I started telling myself about cancellations is, what are they going to do to me anymore? Like, they've done their worst. and I'm still here. It's that you have no power over me thing, right? And so it can be loud and it can be ugly and people lie, but been through this all before. We'll go through it again. At the end of the day, 2 days later, they're back to yelling at like Don Lemon and I don't know, Lindsay Ellis and, all those other people, Ben Shapiro or whoever, whoever culture war figure shoots their mouth off that day. They're off yelling. They'll be back, but they will go away. Reasonable expectations mitigate catastrophizing, but you do have to do that work, when you go into the boss fight again. If you just randomly mash buttons, okay, unless it's Kingdom Hearts 2, you're not going to beat that boss. Life ain't Kingdom Hearts 2, okay? Life requires you to actually execute a certain amount of skill. Now, you do get do-overs. They're not the same boss. You may have to go to a different boss. That'd be interesting game design. You get one shot at everything, but there's always another way through. Aside, sorry. But, you have to have some coherent thought in order to get through it. If you allow yourself to catastrophize, you are creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. You blow it because you don't think there's any chance of success. Like I said, you psych yourself out. So when you find yourself, I'm shit, I'm bad, this is hopeless, everything's going to be ruined, I'm going to lose everything, stop that shit dead. Somebody taught you to think that. You can teach yourself not to think that. Trust me, I've done it. You think it's beyond your control, but it's not. It is a story that you are telling yourself, and you have the power to change the story. Think about every video game character who starts the game with nothing, or they've had an insurmountable loss, right? That's what I did with PTSD. Because, oh my God, PTSD, at the time it was seen as this horrible, incurable thing. Oh my God, I'm broken. People are going to be terrified of me. I can't tell anybody. And then I started applying the story of God of War to my own situation. And my narrative became not, I'm broken. My narrative became, I'm Kratos. And so I'm not broken, helpless person. I'm dude with a scar on my face and a scar on my chest. And I got these weapons and everything. I think I'm awful. And I get literally thrown into hell multiple times and I climb back up. And it's not fun, but occasionally there's naked chicks in a hot tub. Just saying. I'm not saying this narrative will work for you. I'm saying this was the narrative that helped me stop catastrophizing. So in order to stop catastrophizing, find your Kratos. Find that narrative that isn't combating the catastrophic thoughts. It is replacing, it is overwriting the catastrophic thoughts. That's the goal. Not fighting, no. The more you go, no, it's not that, your brain is going, yes, it is. Rewrite the thought. Find your Kratos. Play as Kratos. Sounds ridiculous, but trust me, give it a try. Give it 3 tries. You don't do it once and give up. You give it a few tries. You find this advice helpful? Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching.